rectangles in life are cool and structurally they make sense, like Greg's car. Like, yes, I'm taking Greg's car, a nice Jeep off-roading. I'm not taking like a big old amoeba off-roading.
Yeah.
But something about like the roundness of like a live edge dining table or something along those lines, it has a lot of appeal to it.
Yeah. And I feel like everybody's favorite dining table is those ones where you just take a tree and you just cut out a section where it is like that live edge where it's like, it is rectangle shape-ish, but it's like everything is just natural. Natural just feels better. Natural
does feel better. And I think like we have to reconcile the natural look with the functional look. And that's architecture, I guess, in a lot of ways, or at least the architecture I enjoy.
I feel like it's just ignoring the inherent value. When you do too much to it, it's like, oh, all the value is there. You just had to feel it. You just had to get down with the energy it was putting out initially.
Because if you do a crazy sculpture out of marble, then I'm like, well, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah. Then that's like the energy the person put into it.
But they leave live edge at the bottom usually too, because they get it.
Yeah.
And also like, yeah, I mean, not everything in life is, the contrast is what's so cool. Like a cool metal sheet over like Elon's Tesla. That car is really cool because there's nothing quite like it out there. Like what you guys are saying, all cars look the same. They're designed very similarly because that's how we imagined it. And like our memory of cars is like kind of dick shaped. Not dick shaped, but you know, it's like a
teardrop.
A teardrop. Yeah.
Yeah. Just efficient.
Just efficient, simple, and then it's just easy to replicate. And once you start reconciling nature into that build, to make it easy to replicate is that much harder.
Yeah.
Value goes up though, because it's harder to replicate, more unique.
Yeah. I would say the non-natural edges of things is most valuable when you're trying to convey precision. Like precision is cool when it's done. Like if you're, let's say like this sculpture, if you had a really skilled person that like sculpted, you know, like Michelangelo or something, and then it was on just a perfectly square base that they also sculpted, that's cool. It's like somebody had to put in the precision effort to make this very unnatural shape. And like the effort behind that's really nice.
The Germans, dude.
Yeah, the Germans.
Or like engineering is really sick.
Egyptians, where it's like they made a perfectly precise pyramid.
Yeah.
Which you would never get anywhere in nature, but they're like, it's cool because you can't see it anywhere in nature.
Yeah.
But it's like a table is like, I see a table every day. Like a rectangle table is not precise anymore.
Also, if we're speaking about contrast and specific, like, you know how there's always the one angle of the pyramids shooting out into the desert. Super sick. Then you get the angle of the pyramids on the other side where the whole city of Egypt, I don't even know. What's this? Giza?
Gaza?
Huh?
Yeah, Giza.
Giza.
Is it Giza?
I think.
Yeah.
More or
the
less.
whole city
Gaza's
is on the other side. And it's all not similar structures, but all unnatural structures, all these squares and everything. And it's not as cool because there's not as much contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still interesting to see like, oh, there's a city on the other side.
Yeah.
But the pyramids are cool because it's standing out in nature.
Dude, and then what's really cool is when nature throws a curveball at you. And like, check out this precision in nature. Like Devil's Postpiles up by Yosemite, where it's just perfect octagons just stacked right next to each other.
Just naturally?
Naturally.
Oh my gosh.
It's incredible.
It's really cool.
Yeah, but nature does it all the time where you'll see like the little cube crystals. Or you'll see there's a lot of the Devil's Postpile things. It's like a lava formation.
Okay.
But it'll happen by like sea edges and stuff too. It's like, whoa, like that's something extra special where you're like, okay, there's just shit happening that's like, I just can't understand.
Just infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
So like something's going to be weirdly uniform.
I think the whole structure of everything is really precise. We just get to see like the nature version that is raw. Like we think of it as like, oh, that's not that precise. But if you look at the structure, it's like the way that it crystallizes is like super like carbon.
Yeah.
Nutty.
And basically everything has the Fibonacci fingerprint we were talking about? Is it Fibonacci?
Fibonacci sequence or the golden
Fibonacci
ratio or however you want to refer to it.
Yeah, and like there's uniformity in that because it's so well spread out across everything. So yeah, I mean everything in nature is very uniform and efficient in its own way. It just doesn't work to our function or how we want it to. So we're like, there's no function in it. But like, no, nature works, dude.
Yeah, nature
really
works.
well.
Nature does this thing. And it's kind of savage at times. People are like, dude, nature's all gushy, dude. No way, dude.
Nature's hard.
Nature's really hard.
Nature's harder than me on a Monday morning.
So as they go through the different frequencies, each hertz has like its own distinct pattern.
And it's the patterns they make are pretty wild too. Like there's something very fundamental about those patterns they make where there's almost a familiarity to those patterns that's like too real.
Because it's what everything's built out of, more or less.
Well, it's almost what you see like when you close your eyes. Like it's almost hitting patterns that just your brain is familiar with. Which sort of makes sense because light is coming into your eyes at a certain frequency if you close your eyes, like, and you're projecting onto a flat surface, like depending on what's going on.
Yeah, when I stare at the sun,
shit.
there are some like patterns of like the light spots on my eyelids. So yeah.
And then the water one is a similar thing here.
Sine wave. Oh, they're getting into it. Yo, what?
That's pretty nutty, right?
Yo.
Super nutty.
I need to see this on like a large scale, but the vibrations and the frequencies probably have to be insane.
And it's crazy too to watch that section right there where there's like floating beads of water.
Yeah.
Like it's not even a solid stream. Like it's just it's I don't know, it's crazy.
Just like funky little elbows.
So nutty.
Dude, that's like Greg on a Monday morning.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool shit that like it is a function of nature that we really ignore. And to your point, ignore a bigger scale. Like nobody tries to do those experiments at a huge scale to see what can we do with that.
To be fair, like if someone did that, I'd be like, yeah, that's really like a waterfall with like funky Z's, and I'd be like, yeah, that's really sick. I think it would end about there though. They're gonna be like, yeah, we have no function to this. Like we already have our hydrodynamics and everything, and it doesn't get us any more power. So we just don't dig a lot of functionality of it. It doesn't make it less cool though.
Dude, like Tesla would argue against you though. I feel like Tesla is all about like, no guys, like pay attention to how much we could do if we use frequencies at like a really big scale.
Maybe.
But it's ignored because he's like, dude died early, you know?
People who are geniuses walk the line between insanity and genius so tightly. And I love when they're a step outside of actually doing it and then they die. And you're like, wait, were they on the right path or were they falling into craziness?
Yeah, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
I think to push the envelope, you gotta be outside of reason.
It's unconventional. Yeah. You're doing like maybe things that just seem illogical. Like specifically when we're climbing is that we get to the top of the mountain and I think like automatically my brain goes to, oh, let's go back like kind of the way we came down because that makes sense. I know it's good. And then occasionally I'd be like, wait a second, let me just try something because like I could go this way. It might be 10 times more efficient. It might not be, although it's not like for sure I'm getting like a new experience out of it.
More fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more fun. But like if you apply that to like the larger structure of like, of industry to go those new routes, you find new things and you run into a bunch of failures, but it's those experiments. It's Thomas Edison trying or 1,000 different things for the light bulb until he figured out what the best filament is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there might be a couple unconventional things in there, but you're not really going to discover something new by walking the same path as everybody else.
Because everyone was like, candle. I can make a new shape of candle. It's like, okay, not nearly as cool as making a new light bulb.
Yeah. And you also just have, naturally too, pushing the envelope and going beyond reason, which is always the thing where big discoveries are made, is also just difficult to get in the mindset to do because it's normally prosecuted. Like people are like, that's not reasonable at all. Like, don't pursue that. Why are you pursuing that? And it also is like a big hit at the ego to people who don't want to go outside the known reason.
Exactly.
Which is like what it was Galileo. Was it?
Yeah,
was it
Galileo that was persecuted
and
the kings were like, no, dude, Jesus. And he's like, no, heliocentrism. And everyone's like, no, geocentrism.
Yeah. And it's like, But to everybody else that wasn't Galileo, it was like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, how could we possibly be going around the sun? Like, we watch the sun go around us. But it's like, no. You just got it. You just don't have a fundamental, as we were talking about on our trip, you're missing a fundamental piece of knowledge.
Exactly.
Because there's just that one piece that you'll need. It's like, that changes the whole perspective. And it's like, oh yeah, duh. Like that was easy.
But then the nice thing though, we have developed a lot of scientific theories that scientifically prove that an illogical outcome, well, like an outcome that was reached in an illogical manner isn't any less valid because of Occam's razor.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of Occam's razor?
I need a refresher.
So basically, if there's two theories that are possible, like with Galileo, there was heliocentrism versus geocentrism. And if there's two possible theories, the simpler one prevails as the right one. And mathematically, mathematically heliocentrism was such a simpler theory with the rotations of the Earth, the speed of the Earth, the other planet, and how the stars like aligned in like certain patterns throughout times of the year. Like there was so much more mathematically reasonable for us to be going around the sun versus the sun going around us would have to be moving at this crazy odd pattern, and we'd have to be rotating irregularly. So they're like, eventually through the scientific method and Occam's razor, it's widely known and accepted.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see what scientists can figure out once we start pushing the boundaries of like math. Because there is, and I'm not gonna be able to explain it. And if you want an explanation, go watch like Veritasium's video on mathematical incompleteness. But mathematical, like math isn't complete. Like you can't boil down math to the most fundamental thing and have it make sense. Like it makes sense to explain all the things that we observe, but math is like a theory, doesn't track all the way back where everything is explainable within it. It's like there is an incompleteness value where we're like, whoa, we don't really know. We don't know why it's incomplete, but it works for so much stuff that we're like, can't get caught up on that.
Math is kind of just like language in that way. Like we have words to describe things and like, yes, that's the word we put on it. But it's not like a perfect science in language. There's a lot of like slip ups, and every language has their own slip ups. And yeah, so I see math that way as well.
Yeah. And I think we'll discover it without having to push the boundaries of math. It'll be more like looking at the universe and having the universe tell us that like, no, your math doesn't really work here.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure out how to make sense
We'll
of that.
find that missing piece of information that solves a lot of equations and also disproves a bunch of equations. And they're like, whoa, like life just changed.
It really freaks me out that we don't know what gravity is yet.
Dude, we just got to get into the gargantuan. We got to throw Matthew McConaughey in there with a big robot, and he's going to give his daughter the quantum data, bro. And then we're going to get so much better off for it, bro. They're going to be hitting dingers in a spaceship, dude. No doubt.
Dude, it's weird. You know how Gregory was telling us on our Joshua Tree trip about what teacher taught you about the send a message to your future self again?
Oh, dude, that was a great point.
Documentarian. I don't know his name.
Okay.
I'll throw it in. I'll throw a picture of him.
Documentarian?
Yeah, he like made documentaries and he was super successful and then was like, nah, I'm getting into fucking water sound future.
Yeah, but Gregory made a great note of like, oh yeah, you can send yourself a message in the future by essentially in this moment thinking, okay, where could I be in the future? And when I'm at that point in the future, what would I want to tell myself? Like, what message do I have for myself? And then when you're in that future moment and you end up there, the intention sort of is that you'll end up in this moment and realize, oh wait, I've thought about this moment before, and then realize, oh whoa, I thought about this moment when I was making a note to myself from my past self to now. And then you kind of send a note back to your past self too, but you make this little time connection. And I feel like that is what Matthew McConaughey is kind of doing in Interstellar, where it's like it's this weird paradoxical thing of a note from the past to the future, but also a note from the future to the past. And when it comes true, it like creates this weird paradoxical feeling of like, okay, well, which one caused what? Did I cause the thing in the past? Because a lot of the times when you get to the future point, you're like, well, yeah, well, I'm causing the thing in the past right now. But it's like, it's a good way to sort of feel and experience how time could theoretically be a bit of a paradoxical situation and maybe not exist in the way that we think.
Yeah. And I think something that really cleared up this idea for me that will clear up to the audience is that it's just the fact and the premise that your past exists in your memory.
Right.
Yeah. So when you affirm your memories or you affirm your past within your memories, it does have eventual effect on you. And it might not be literally going back in the past and like saving JFK, but like there's something to it that kind of sends good vibes.
You can alter your memory of JFK, but you can't change the past. You can't change the material reality based on that.
Yeah. And I would say you almost shouldn't even be altering your memory. I guess part of your outtake is your memory, but you shouldn't be altering like the data within it. You should be altering your output. So like I can't change the past, and that's denial if I do. But so I guess I technically could if I was in denial. But I shouldn't be. I should be looking at something and being like, oh, I was better off for this.
Yeah, you can change how you feel about the past.
That's gratefulness.
That's the key thing.
That's being grateful. If you can be grateful for your past and like grateful with specificity, it's going to make you a better person, no doubt.
Yeah, I think it inherently makes you much better for the future because you understand like, wow, there's big opportunity for change. Because I'm looking at this past version of myself and going, oh yeah, like what I would have wanted to learn, I'm sitting here now having learned.
And if you've learned the thing, you can almost give yourself the margin for the past. Like you don't need to beat yourself up in the present for what you've done in the past if you've learned from it. And that's the value of going back and like repainting those memories is like, it was actually a useful thing no matter how bad it was.
Because if current me is thinking, wow, future me is going to think I'm super whack. And I know I've had those thoughts before. Right. That's not really the best place to put your mind.
No.
You should put your mind in the security of the moment. And hopefully future you can look back and at the very least recognize that and be grateful. Like, oh, I was trying my best when starting a podcast. And my EQs were off. My edits were off. But like looking back, like I had the best intentions with this. And it turned out to be something pretty sick.
Because when you think about 12-year-old you being proud of who you are now, they probably would be. They'd be like, wow, that's what I become. That's sick.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And it's good to look back and think like, you being you is why I got to being here. So it's not that you're whack. Like there's things I probably would have done different, but I'm glad that they happened.
Yeah. Like all the insecurities and issues I had, all the times I got bullied, all the times I bullied others built me empathy. It built me skills. It built me, built me a lot of thoughts, dude. Done got them thoughts.
Yeah.
And you know what that makes me think? It makes me think more kids should get bullied and bully other kids.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a fine line to it, which is funny. But like, I mean, just like you were saying, Dylan, with back when you were in the desert and one kid said, Dylan complains a lot. There's a type of truth to that, which hits really hard. And I think there's the constant harassment and bullying, which is so toxic. And of course, we don't approve of bullying. But I mean, when you get served a little dose of truth on occasion and you get checked, it's so powerful in a way.
And see, what was interesting about that dose of truth too, which goes a little bit against bullying, is that it was more powerful to me when I was a kid because that other kid was not a bully. That kid was somebody who was like trying to be our friend and was like, nah, like I just don't get down with the attitude.
Don't get down complainers.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, so this person is somebody who's not mean and isn't whack, but just saying like, hey, yeah, I don't want to be friends with them because they just like complain all the time. So that really hit me where I'm like, oh, whoa, it's like he's not just being mean, he's being real. He's just being truthful.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's something to think about. I gotta think about how my actions are affecting my like relationships.
And then you send little past vibes out to that memory in that moment, and it becomes that much more pivotal in a way.
Yeah, like I send memories back to that where I think about how much or how grateful I am that I actually like thought about that for a second, because it's hard to think about things for more than half a second when you're a kid.
Yeah, really hard.
But I'm like, maybe it's me sending the past vibes there. That was the part where it was like, oh yeah, like I should think about this for a minute or two, because it feels like this is some real shit. Like this is something that, you know, real life is throwing at me.
Yeah. I think so many times I was told I was complaining about like my parents and like, come on, I'm not listening to them. And it's tough.
Yeah.
But like, depending on who you get it from, someone that you don't expect to get it from, it's different sometimes.
Yeah. Way different.
Same with praise.
Yeah.
When someone who has no reason to compliment me about something that's like they're knowledgeable about and I trust them because they don't want to make me feel good, they're like, hey, you did a really good job at that. And then walk away, never see you again. You're like, damn, that compliment's going to last for a long time. We're like, of course my mom's going to say I'm socially capable. It's like, this is my mom. Like,
yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. But then some people, it's hard to take it as genuine because like you start questioning the ulterior motives. I'm like, are you blowing smoke up my ass for some ulterior motive reason? Should I even question it, or should I just take it like, thank you, and just take it at that surface level? Probably should take it at the surface level. But sometimes I'm like, got to question the ulterior motives.
Especially someone who's like suave, you know? Someone who's like, who is capable at ulterior motives.
Yeah, I feel like some people might be trying to win you over with compliments.
Right.
And kind of filtering those out is a really tough thing to do sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like it's just trusting your intuition in those moments, right? Or your intuition's probably correct. So if you hear that and your intuition goes kind of, it throws up a red flag a little bit and it's like, that might not be like all there. It's like, that's probably true. I feel like your intuition's pretty good at telling when somebody's like 100% of the ball, like, oh, whoa, they like really mean it. that came off with like genuine, like, you know, there's a tone of voice.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you should completely discredit that compliment, but you should definitely be careful on how it affects your view of the person who gave you the compliment.
Yeah.
4 agreements.
Yeah. And I think there's always truth in those comments, even when it's from somebody with maybe ulterior motives. Cause I definitely have made comments like that to people where it's just in a position where it's just the easy and right thing to do to say like, oh yeah, good job. Like, yeah, I like that you're doing this. Even if I feel like, oh, like I'm saying that, but I only half mean it, I still half mean it. And the part that I don't mean isn't that they did a bad job. It's just that I feel like obligated to say it in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's still a compliment. It's just not 100% there.
Do you lie to people straight up ever? Because I don't. I will never tell a straight lie. I'll always pick, like, someone's like, do you think I'm attractive? I'm like, I will never just say yes if I mean no. Like I'll find a way to be like,
you got a real jazzy personality, you know?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I told somebody just a bold-faced lie just to get out of the situation. It's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
Like it would feel too icky to me, and I'm offering no value to that person. Like I'm offering anti-value to that person if I'm just lying bold-faced to them.
that's a good way of saying it.
Because you're warping their reality in a way that like you don't deserve to warp their reality.
I can't remember the last time I've just no hesitation bold-faced lied to somebody. But like the power to warp someone's reality, like shouldn't you just be giving them a little soft piece of candy? Because like hitting someone with a hard truth is gonna warp the reality the other way, and not because of you, just because of how they're gonna take it.
Well, but that's warping the reality towards truth. If you're being truthful to somebody, that's fine because you're warping reality towards truth. But if you're warping reality towards like or away from the truth, that's like doing a big disservice to somebody.
Yeah, I think it's doing a big disservice. But is it something about if someone asks you if you think they're pretty and you say no?
Well,
see,
I
that's
wouldn't say no.
too.
Yeah, no, you can't just say no. Like you got to find a way out of it
Because it's
without
like
just telling
warping the
them
reality,
yes.
not just breaking their spine into reality. Because reality's that way, you know.
Yeah,
The food analogy is like, the truth is broccoli. Broccoli's good for you, but like if someone shoved a whole head of broccoli down my throat, I would I would be the most startled ever.
yeah,
Especially someone who I expected to give me candy.
Yeah.
But full candy's maybe not the move. I feel like you always want to give someone an orange.
Yeah, give someone an orange, give someone kind of sweet, something kind of sweet. But also recognize if you're the person asking somebody that,
yeah,
you're putting them in a tough situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you're thinking like, should I tell this person the truth or how do I work my way around it? And that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You're asking someone to feed you broccoli.
Asking from other people is a remarkably selfish act that I think goes unidentified as a selfish act.
Yeah. Like asking for self-reassurance from other people with the expectation that you're going to get self-reassurance from them is like, it's just not good.
Is that kind of like fishing for a compliment in a way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just in general, it's a lack of self-confidence, and it doesn't help somebody's self-confidence to hear somebody else affirm their thing. Like sometimes it does, but not if I don't believe anybody fishing for a compliment doesn't know they're fishing for a compliment.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like even if their brain thinks that fishing for the compliment and then getting the compliment is going to do a service to them, I almost think it almost always does the opposite. Because there's the part of your subconscious that goes, that's a lie. Like, we know that's a lie. And you're just tricking yourself into thinking that you're tricking yourself into believing that person's answer to your fishing comment.
Yeah, there's that, or you're reaffirming that the fishing for compliments is a good thing by giving yourself that positive dopamine. And then you find yourself fishing for compliments all the time.
Yeah.
It's one of those mental habits. It's a super slippery slope.
And it might be good at first. It might help at first, but that's just like a gag that you know, kind of runs out at some point. And your brain is going to go like, you're faking it.
Yeah. And the compliments are not genuine if you're fishing for them.
Yeah.
No. Wanting people to like you is very selfish, and like it's rude to ask that of someone. Way better to be like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Because then whether they like you or not, it's like you're adding value to their lives and you're getting purpose, and like it's just a good thing versus just being like, if I walk into Target and expect everyone to like me out the gates, it's kind of rude.
It's also, you just shouldn't want everybody to like you. If everybody likes you, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Like there's enough individuality in every person where not everybody should like you. Like you should feel very authentic when you run into some people who don't like you, but then can also see the other side where it's like, well, yeah, I have all these friends that do like me though. We're just like, cool. I have fundamental differences with this person and there will always be that gap there. And that's totally fine.
And those interactions are always like crazy interesting. When I meet someone, it's like, whoa, we just do not go together at all. Dude.
I think that's driven by disgust. It's one of the 5 fundamental emotions. And I would never think to put disgust in the top 5 emotions. It's like it's what keeps your group separate from other groups in like a healthy way. It just misfires on the global level a lot of times.
Definitely misfires. I don't know. I don't think it's even a particularly healthy one in a group way. I mean, I get how it makes you different from people. And there's always like an innate feeling of disgust at times when I see someone just dealing with a situation that I'm like, oh my God, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
A classic Mateo thought.
But I do try to, I mean, you should be working to understand your disgust and why the other person may be doing something.
Yeah, like you working to understand Gregory just absolutely murdering his like bean burrito.
Yeah, I feel like that was disgust. Yeah, that was disgust.
I could hear it in your voice when you reacted to it. I was like, Mateo's genuinely disgusted with what Gregory's just done.
And I was genuinely satisfied with my choice. I was like, this is working out at least 80% of the way I wanted to.
80%? The beans were not in the tortilla.
No, it was I wish I had a photo. That shit was a shit show.
Dude, it was awful. But yeah, I mean, and that's just something that like for some reason was ingrained in me for such a long time. Just growing up, I don't know if this is a Mexican thing, but I'm like, you just fold your burrito right, you know?
Dude, and I know how to fold a burrito. That's what's like, you doubles down.
I don't know if you do.
I do. I'll show y'all.
Yeah, you'll have to show me.
I can do it. And I chose not to.
See, that's what would have added my disgust in is I'm fully down with you making whatever decisions you want in terms of how you live your burrito life.
Sure.
But the fact that I know you know how to roll that burrito and you chose not to, that's a disgust moment for me.
There was cut marks in the middle, so I made a flour, right? And then I just poured the beans and they went straight through the bottom of the flour. And then it just became to me like baby hands in it, you know?
Yeah, absolute baby hands. There's beans everywhere, dude.
I feel comfortable with my wrists down being fucked while I eat. Like, I don't think that's a gross thing.
Well, especially when you're camping, I get that. It's fine. But the fact that you didn't take any preventative measures beforehand, that you cut your cheese on top of your tortilla like it was a cutting board.
Yeah, dude, well, I'm going to cut it on the picnic table? I'm out here grinding. I'm living that dirt lifestyle.
That might be one of the things that does disgust me the most about you, though, in general, to be honest, is the fact that you're willing from wrist down for your hands to be as nasty as possible. I pointed out to you pretty frequently, I feel like.
Because I do it a lot in like normal day-to-day life where I'm like, oh, it's clean.
Yeah.
Like I don't napkin till the end and I use one napkin where you're napkinning as you go.
Yeah, which to be fair on my end is a lot of waste. And maybe people are disgusted at the amount of waste that I create in terms of napkins.
Yeah.
But it definitely is just one of those things where I'm like, I don't know why I feel that way, but that disgust feeling's coming up.
Dude, it's so nutty that like hippies are looking at like business people being like, you're just fucking destroying the earth. That's disgusting. And they're looking at hippies be like, take a shower. I'm not gonna curse. But if you can focus on unity, like, oh, we're all the same and we're happy, that's way better than focusing on like those people are different, so they're bad.
Yes, but I think some people are disgusted by unity, dude.
Yeah.
Some people are like, oh, we're all
dude.
I don't know, but then I can understand it because we're all innately different.
Yeah. And that's where you got to learn to love the differences. Cause like, does your hands disgust me when you eat? Yes. But do I kind of like it beneath the disgust?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's like, it's part of what makes you so likable. Like it's part of the package.
It's the contrast to it. And it's also funny because I'm like, wow, I would be so bummed if that was me. And there's another human somehow enjoying like having sticky bean wrists.
This is smooth brain, man.